everyone. Welcome to Dog Life Radio. I am your host, Rossi Giugio. So, we have another fantastic episode that is going to be highly educational as well as entertaining. We're bringing it to you, raising the bar again. And this week I have the help of a wonderful young man straight out of New York City. Sir Wilkins is my special guest this week. Sir Wilkins is the co-host of a podcast called Yep, We Got a Podcast. That podcast is going to be rebooted or rebranded as The Jobber Tears. Going to be dropping, I believe, in January. So definitely check that out. Check him out. He is a certified trainer down in New York City and the co-host of those podcasts. Highly energetic, highly motivational. Definitely take a look at his podcast. Take a look at his Instagram pages, Sir Wilkins. Just the way it sounds, folks. And thank you for that intro music. As always, we've got the great Peace Tribe, powerful Peace Tribe with Good Enough. Thank you very much, guys. During this particular episode, I struggled to find the name of one Bonnie St. John. We were having a conversation. We were talking about falling down, getting back up, both literally as well as just illustratively. So I could not remember her name as I was talking about a quote that she had, as she is a Special Olympian, a downhill skier, Bonnie St. John. That's who it was. So when you get to that part of the show, you'll know what I'm talking about. So that's it, people. Hey, thanks for supporting the show. Remember to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all at Dog Life Radio. Help me spread the good word, too. So share the links on whatever social media you prefer. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or follow it on Podbean, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, or wherever you're listening. So throw up a 4-star or 4-cloud or whatever. Thank you very much. It's the best way to help others find the podcast. And as always, send me any feedback. I would love to hear from you. dogliferadio@yahoo.com. On with the show. This is Dog Life Radio. Thank you very much for joining us. I've got a very special guest, remote from New York City. Thank you very much, Sir Wilkins.
What's up, everybody? What up? What up? It's your boy, Sir Wilkins, in the building. What's going on, everyone?
Not too much. It's a cold, cold day here in the Northeast, but things are going to get very hot because we are going to have some fun. We're going to have a really good conversation. I was very, very much looking forward to having you on Dog Life Radio. So thank you, sir.
No, thank you for having me on it, man. I really appreciate this. You didn't have to ask me to be on this, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. You could have asked somebody else, but you asked me. Thank you.
No, it was great. I listened to your podcast. So before we get going, just a brief little snippet about Sir Wilkins here. So Sir Wilkins isn't just some bum off the street here. He's a certified professional. No, this isn't just another pretty face here. This is a man, certified personal trainer, power lifter, also a co-host of Yep, We Got a Podcast. Yeah, that's the actual name is Yep, We Got a Podcast, and I am a listener. I subscribe, and I do enjoy it.
All right, man. Oh, man. Thank you so much, man. I'm just trying to make it in America.
Trying to make your corner of America great again?
Yeah, I'm trying to make my corner of America great again, but, I'm trying to do it before 33 because, Jesus died at 33, so I'm trying to do this.
I'm way overboard. I'm way late on that one myself, but we won't get into that. So one of the reasons why I reached out to you, and it was funny because it's all through social media, and every day you get the chance to talk to different people in other parts of the country, other parts of the world. I reached out to you to say, hey, did you happen to hear about this whole Ronda Rousey thing going to WWE? It's in the works type of a thing. Knowing that your podcast, you talk a lot about wrestling, and I just wanted to have a conversation. And then it turned into, hey, let's just do a podcast on it.
Yeah. Do you want me to start, or do you want to?
You go. What's your take? What's your thoughts?
Listen, the Ronda Rousey situation is a moneymaker.
Mm-hmm.
She has a huge brand. She just actually. What's funny, she's an executive producer of one of my clients' best friend's new TV show. It's on Verizon, their streaming network.
Oh, no
where
kidding.
A fighter goes all over the world and he fights in different type of forms of fighting, basically.
No kidding. So she's
And,
producing that?
Yeah, she's executive producing it. You know, her basically she just threw her name on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have an episode with just about wrestling, professional wrestling.
No kidding. What
Which
was?
is
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
funny.
Yeah, well, you know that she's always been huge into wrestling. You know, big Four Horsemen and Roddy Piper fan. That anybody who's followed her in MMA has seen that in any of her interviews and things like that. She doesn't make it. You know, she doesn't hide the fact that she's a big fan of WWE.
Listen, everybody's a fan of WWE at one point in their life.
That's
I don't
true.
want anybody to ever tell me that they never watched wrestling ever in their life. That is straight lies. Everybody was a fan. Now, if you're a fan going into your 20s, into your 30s, into your 40s, then you're like a super fan. That's what I say. But everybody has been a fan at some point. Now, her coming to WWE, it's great for WWE because it's what WWE does. It's pop culture.
Yep.
It's pop culture. And I believe WWE is the pop charts. Everything else is like the little mini charts, like, you know, the actual different categories. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they, of course, they're gonna put Ronda Rousey on there because it's awesome. It's an awesome idea. I'm not a huge fan of Ronda Rousey, not because of her fighting abilities, is the way she acted after she lost the first time. And that really bothered me.
I got to tell you, I'm very, very similar to you. Like, I respect what she did in the ring. I'm not, you know, I don't buy into the hype that she's the greatest that there ever was. I do think that she was kick ass. You know, I mean, she was Olympic caliber judo. It translated very well into the ring, into the cage. The people that she was fighting, I definitely feel like the talent level was not the same as her in many aspects, but you could really see a bit about her after she did lose that first match. And as a person, you know, there's obviously some things happening behind the scenes there that, you know, it started to creep through, you know, like the confidence, you know, that whole indestructible thing shattered. So yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, because as a champion, you're supposed to be able to handle that loss and move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, I don't want to like diminish her who she is as a person or shit on her in any type of way. But you're a role model to a lot of females out there.
Yep, absolutely.
And we're at a fucking time where, like, yo, women are moving to that forefront of becoming bigger and better than what they were before, because they were always on the back burner, and now they're coming to the forefront and taking over. And now, but you are a role model, and the way you acted after that loss, I've never seen Serena Williams do that. I've never seen Venus Williams do that. I've never seen other very prestigious female athletes do that. But you just fell apart, and it kind of bothered me a little bit. Like, yo, come on.
No, absolutely. I like the fact, like, she broke through that glass ceiling. She was main eventing pay-per-views for the UFC. I mean, having somebody out there like that, having girls be able to look up and say, hey, you know what? I want a main event. I want a headline. I want to do that. That was awesome.
Yep, right.
Awesome.
You're
but
100%
then,
right. 100% right.
yeah, but then to your point, though, nobody's going to win them all. Nobody is going to win them all. You know, in a legit fights, you know, nothing fixed. You're going to lose, and then the biggest piece is about picking yourself back up. There's I just became aware of, she was a Special Olympics downhill skier, and she had her, I think it was her left leg amputated. And after the first run, she was in first place. So the second run was going on, and everybody was crashing. Everybody was falling. So all she said to herself was, hey, I just got to stand up. I just got to stay up, and I'm going to win. Well, she crashed. She didn't stay up, and she ended up getting a bronze. But the person that came in first place and got the gold fell also. And it's the whole point of she got up faster than anybody else. And that, to me, is the story that Ronda has not picked herself back up.
Exactly. And once again, sorry about that.
No, don't worry.
I don't know her full situation at home and what's going on outside of it. So I'm just going off what I see. Mm-hmm. So if anybody who listens to this podcast hears me talk about this and then has like more insight to this and then can defend her really, go ahead. But this is once again my opinion and what I've seen. Yep. Like it's that old like those quotes that you see about motivation, like you fall 6 times, get up 7 times.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I feel like she fell twice and never got back up, and then now she's trying to work another direction, which is fine. Reinvent herself and go to WWE, which is fine. But I'm so sensitive about wrestling that I feel like we shouldn't be. I'm saying we like I'm a wrestler, but we shouldn't be used as like, oh man, well nothing else is working out for me right now, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna just do this.
Yep. No, it's. Yeah, no, I get your point, and it's like she didn't even necessarily need to pick herself back up and go back into the cage, because she could have made that transition and just make it differently, you know? Because I see what you're saying, like, based on what we see, and you and I are definitely in front of the curtain. We're not behind the scenes seeing what's going on.
Exactly.
You know, I have not traveled in her shoes. I know she had a very rough upbringing, like she lived in a car for a portion of her, she was homeless for a portion of her teen life. So, you know, definitely not many people could get through that and still move on to win an Olympic medal and so forth. But nonetheless, falling down, being able to say, you know what, at this point, you know, holding a press conference or something and saying, you know, I think my days in the UFC are done. You know, I dominated. I set the bar for women's MMA. I'm probably a shoo-in to go into the Hall of Fame. There's no point in going back. I don't have anything to prove. So I'm going to move on to the next chapter. And it becomes WWE. It's something, you know, I've watched it since I was a kid. I love it. I've always wanted to get in the ring and then go from there.
Yeah, but the thing about it, you're doing something. So one of my favorite podcast people and like radio personality, Charlemagne the God,
yes,
he has this phrase. It's called living your truth.
Yep.
So what you just said is her living her truth. Like, except like, yo, I just lost. Okay. You know what? This is it. I'm gonna make this next step. That's living your truth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I also felt you spoke about the fact that she was in a car, lived in a car, you know, and then won a gold medal. That's because she was grinding and she was hungry. And maybe when she got to that top, and she just kept winning, like she was winning like matches in like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, like on some like ridiculous amount of time.
Yep, she was
then
steamrolling.
I think and then from what I read and my research on it was that she got cocky from what it seems like.
Yeah, she started buying into the hype.
So the first girl that she lost, what was her name again? I forget.
Holly Holm.
Holly Holm. So Holly Holm is a boxer.
Yep. World class.
World class boxer. Now, Ronda is a world class jiu-jitsu fighter.
That's true.
So that's grappling. That's bringing somebody down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from what I read, once again, this is my information. If somebody knows something better, please tell me. But from what I read, her coach switched her to more of a boxing style.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. They started believing that. See, she was steamrolling people in like 10 seconds, 12, 14, knocking people out who were not at that same level, not at that same caliber of athlete as she was. And then exactly your point, the people, you know, getting a little bit of the yes men around them. Like, you are that indestructible. You can walk through people, beat them on your metal alone, that type of a thing. And it definitely...
Yeah, you're right. She was not. But the thing about what makes it better is the fact that arrogance started kicking in. Like, yo, I'm going to switch over to more of a boxing style in a couple of months. Like, how full of yourself can you be?
Oh, yeah. I can
beat this girl.
No, you're right. You're absolutely on the money. To think you're going to beat this girl, Holly Holm, who's like world-class boxer, kickboxer, multiple champions, and you're going to go in and knock her out. Exactly. Nah, not going to happen.
That's insane. That's insane. And I think it was that arrogance. The arrogance was up there, like way up there. And this is what happened. She lost, but then when she lost, she was in such shock that she lost. Like, yo, you can't. And then she didn't know how to handle it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
She, like, just it ate her up inside. She talked about committing suicide. And that's a serious thing. I don't want to like downplay it in any type of way. But you know what I mean? Like, it was bad for her. But once again, like I said before, you're a role model to so many people.
Absolutely. That being able to be that tough, like, she is a tough lady, but that piece of being, you said it, like the suicide conversation and talks and stuff, those were very real. It was very real for her.
But you know what? If she had said that, and then came back and, like you said, lived her truth, like spoke about, yo, I was at a bad place, but I'm ready to come back. Mm-hmm. And then lost again. Even if she lost again, yes or no, and still try to do something, mm-hmm. I would have respected a lot more. But I felt like she gave up.
You know, you're right. And accepting the truth, like everybody saw her get beat. Everybody saw it, and it's going to live forever as a meme of her getting knocked out both times. And it's like, who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. Being able to accept it and move on. Like, she's got an opportunity in front of her now where she can move into this next stage where she can go and get into WWE. And she's not going to come in and be some schlub that's got to work her way up. I mean, like you said, she's got a name. She's got a brand, you know? And I'm curious to see how they're going to use her. How are they going to do? They're going to drop some money on her. So they're going to do something big. But what exactly are they going to do?
So I read some stuff on it. Now, maybe you can answer this. Is it gonna be a one-time thing, like she shows up at WrestleMania, Royal mm-hmm. Rumble, or something, or this is maybe a semi-full-time position she's going for?
You know, I think she's already done the one-time thing. She did a thing where she came in with The Rock a few years ago. I think at WrestleMania. Yeah. You know, I'm thinking it might be a bit more, maybe more like what Brock does, where Brock kind of comes in, you know, he's not an everyday player. He's kind of like coming in every now and again type of a thing. Mm-hmm. I see her wanting that. The part that's interesting is we're talking about like her ego and how it impacted her in terms of her MMA career. How does that ego impact her in this? Like, she's obviously negotiating. She's going to get a serious paycheck out of this. So that's going to feed into the ego. Then it turns into, okay, so now I'm getting paid like a champ. I want to be the champ. Is she going to walk in and just steamroll people and just like Goldberg everyone? And it's like, if that's the case, you know, given she is an Olympic caliber judo in MMA, she's an MMA Hall of Famer. But given the way she left MMA, is that the role that's like, is it believable? How's it fit into the storylines?
There's so many angles they can go with. So mm-hmm. honestly, they can go with it. The thing is, wrestling, I should call it that.
Wrestling
is so much different than everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember when I watched Kurt Angle's. Is it called 24? Is it still called 24?
Yeah.
So I watched Kurt Angle's 24. And they were talking. He was talking about when he first came in. Now, Kurt Angle's an Olympic gold medalist.
Yep.
And he spoke about how when he first went to the developmental camp, he was about to quit.
That's got to say something.
Because he just couldn't do it. But he decided to continue going and look at his career. Look what he did.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, her coming in is. She's able to learn because you can tell she can learn something new because athletes pick up on things very easily, especially when something that's physical. Mm-hmm. So she can pick it up, but will she have the patience to pick it up, like you just said, of understanding that you're not going to get this right away, that this is something different, that you're going to have to work at this, and you have to respect it.
That's like, a huge piece.
If you want to do this, you're gonna have to respect this, and a lot of people don't respect wrestling.
That, you know, so, I see what you're saying. Absolutely, like I see her coming in, going, you know, is she gonna steamroll everyone? She's gonna come in and they're gonna make everybody job to her, and she's just not. It's gonna be, you know, like Goldberg comes in, it doesn't really take any real bumps for years, and it's like it's not really believable. And it, you know, was, although for Goldberg it was awesome, it worked out pretty damn good. But it's like, here, I don't know if that plays.
Nah, it doesn't play because she's not a physical specimen like that.
That's right. She's not teeny, and she's obviously very athletic and strong. But you're right. Goldberg was a big mother, and she fought at 135, so she probably walks around 145 to 155, somewhere in that range. You know, so yeah. I mean, she's not like this behemoth. She's not like China or who's the other girl? Rock's cousin, Nia.
Nia Jax.
Yeah, Nia. I mean, she is a big. This is my thing. when I heard this, I started going, oh man, what they need to do is they need to bring her in and slowly bring her in, and she starts cheap shotting different people all over the place and alluding to building her crew. And she builds up her version of the Four Horsemen, and Naya, is it Nia or Naya?
Naya.
Naya is her enforcer. She gets Naya, then they go blitz somebody else, they pick up somebody else, and they get the Four Horsemen, and she's like only wins by cheating and stuff like that, playing the bad guy. I'm like, that would be a win for me.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No problem.
Yeah. So I could definitely see something like that. There's so many ways to do it right now.
Oh yeah.
But the women's division in WWE is so crowded.
Yep.
That it, like, where are you gonna throw her in, and how are you gonna make everybody else feel? Like, I know Vince is all about the green, and having Ronda around is gonna boost up ratings, do whatever it needs to do. But you also gotta think about, like, the other bunch of women that you just brought up from NXT.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? Like, I've been talking to a lot of people about this. Like, they need another title within the women's division, preferably a tag team title.
Yep. That could be big. It gives you a little bit more shine to some of the other folks. Yeah, absolutely. It gives you a couple more matches that you could throw into your pay-per-views, because you throw the belt up. Ronda, you throw Ronda on your pay-per-view card, you're getting more buys just straight off a name.
Yeah, and it's like Vince just got to figure out a way to. Or I don't know who's running it right now. I don't think Stephanie's fully involved with the creative anymore.
Yep.
But they just got to figure out a way to like get all this talented women working. Because I just see it end up like 205 Live. You know what I mean? I see them end up like the Cruiserweight division, like something so forgotten. Because they built up the women's division so much at this Women's Revolution, all of this, and you get so hyped. And it's like talented girls. These aren't like pretty faces and like boobs anymore. These are chicks that can hit somebody.
Yeah, that's the big difference from what I see today happening from when I used to watch years and years ago. Years and years ago, they were valets. They were arm candy, like Miss Elizabeth and things like that back in the day. Now they're doing, like the transfer. You get people like China, and then I loved Lita. She used to do the moonsaults and everything. Yeah. But now you don't have just one person doing it. You've got a roster of athletes,
like real athletes, like these girls, like Sasha Banks, Alexis Bliss, Nia. Like, you have so many women on this roster that can legit be in the ring and put on an Iron Man match for 30 minutes, to an hour. Like, they can wrestle, they can put on a match, they can tell a story. But then WWE has so much talent.
No,
and because there's no second brand that comes even close, they're kind of in a bubble with themselves. So you're thinking to yourself, like, what do you do? And the other thing is, they don't need to push the envelope every time, because people will still watch it. I'll still watch it. So I'm as guilty as everybody else, because I'll complain, but I'll still watch it.
Yeah, that's the piece. Like, I remember back when you had like the WCW, WWE wars, the Monday Night Wars. I mean, those wars, I think, really pushed the envelope and made people evolve into where you're headed today. Without that massive competition, having people that are a distant second, that doesn't push you creatively.
Doesn't push you at all.
Yeah.
Because you don't. And then I think now, the indie scene. That's what they brought in NXT.
Yep.
To get that indie feels within. Sorry, I literally just woke up about 2 hours ago.
Oh.
I took a nap after my 6 a.m. client, and it's like I'm still not 100%.
You sound good. You sound good.
Okay, so they're buying. So they're kind of getting a little bit of it, but like you said, nothing strong enough to give them a real challenge to that mainstream scene.
Yep.
So it's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah, you can get complacent with things. You know, you just ride what's working. You shift from this space where you need to constantly evolve and reinvent yourself, trying to break down those walls and barriers and constantly climb. You shift from that to almost more of a put it in cruise control. We're gonna, if it's not broken, we're not gonna fix it. You know, showing having Brock show up at pay-per-views every once in a while. You know, gets the pop, gets the crowd going. Okay, we're done. We don't need to do anything else, because it's working. You know, nobody's taking our market share. So I absolutely agree. But I think what you were talking about with the women's revolution, it goes almost back to what we were talking about before with what Ronda did for the females, the youth in America or even beyond, giving them more and more, showing them that anything can happen, anything, they can do anything, and showing they don't just have that one spot to go after. They've got as many belts or equivalent belts as they do in the men's division. Having a tag team belt is fantastic. I love that idea.
Yeah, because it just gives people more opportunities.
Yeah. Well, and just like you said, you know, more opportunities for the talent, because you got a deep talent pool. You're going to have somebody come in who's a name, who's definitely going to be ruffling feathers, because people are going to say, "I've been working here for so many years," and Ronda comes in and bumps my spot, you know, because they got to compete with the men to try to get on TV, to get on the pay-per-view. So that's going to bump somebody. But if you create more opportunities, more, you know, you create that additional belt piece, automatically, you know, you can promote belt matches. And then also, like you said, the reason why I like that idea so much is you got two people who are the champ, then you're always going to have two people who are the feud, you know, wherever it's going. So you got four people always in the spotlight for that automatically.
Yeah. And then you have that four, then you have another maybe 3 or 4 girls that can compete for just the main title. So now you have 8 people working.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You have 8 people working on a consistent basis, doing something, and you have a legit division. Because right now you just have the women's title.
Yep.
In my opinion. But now if you have the tag titles, you have a legit division, a women's division now. That's something they can go for. I mean, I feel they're gonna have to sooner or later.
Yep.
Because the way that things are going right now, the way that the company's getting bigger and bigger, you're going to have to do this. And what makes the thing is, on a marketing standpoint, all their top girls, have probably more followers than the guys.
Yep. Well, that's a huge piece. That social media piece, you're getting tons of followers. You're getting tons of it. You start marketing it like you just said. Then it goes back to the green for Vince. Turn that into merchandise and stuff.
Exactly. Like there's so many girls who love wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So one of our co-hosts, she's the moderator of our podcast, and she is one of the first females I ever met that loves wrestling. She knows more about wrestling than most guys I know. Like her library, her knowledge of wrestling is so deep. I'm talking about WrestleMania 2 deep. That's a type of knowledge.
That's going back. That is going back.
So, but there's so many girls like her out there.
Oh yeah, my sister's diehard, every single thing.
Exactly. So the money's there. It's just that you just gotta promote these girls even more. Like Total Divas, as much as I'm against it, I watch it.
Oh yeah,
I legit watch it.
I gotta tell. Okay, that's one of my guilty pleasures.
Yes, because it works. It works. There's a reason why that show is in I think the 5th or 6th season.
Yep. Because
it's working. It's working. The women are marketable and they can wrestle. So let's use them even more. And let's start pushing them forward. Ronda coming in is gonna add even just a whole bunch of shit.
Oh yeah.
And I feel the women aren't gonna be as jealous as the men would be, because I remember that there's an old story about Mr. T when he tag teamed with
Hulk Hogan. Yes.
So Roddy Piper hated the fact that Mr. T was wrestling.
Oh, no kidding.
Hated it, and they couldn't put them both in the ring because Roddy was really gonna hit Mr. T and hurt him.
Oh man, no kidding. I
You know what I mean?
didn't know that.
Yeah, he was genuinely going to hurt him. Roddy Piper was one of the greatest of all time, but he was a diva. And he said if you put him, and they were scared, so they kept switching him out. As soon as Roddy got annoying, they put Hogan right back in the ring because Roddy was gonna stiff him, like really punch him in the face and really hurt him.
No kidding. Holy
And
crap.
but I don't feel the women are gonna be like. I think they'll accept it because there's like, you know what, this is gonna help all of us.
You know what? She comes in, raises the bar, but then everybody else will reap some of those benefits.
Yeah, because for the long run, it'll put more eyes on them.
Absolutely.
And their matches have been sometimes better than the men.
Well, see, that's the thing. Honestly, I feel like they try harder. And it's a blanket statement, broad brush, the whole nine. I get it, but I feel like they're out there. They're out there for a much smaller window of time. Every block of time, every block of television time, pay-per-view time, whatever it is, there's a smaller portion allocated to the women. So they know they only got a brief window of time to get out there and shine. So they're out there going 100% every single second. And like I said, with the whole complacency thing, it's possible, and it's not downplaying any individual man on the roster, but it's just this piece where you step back and think that whole division as a whole is knowing that they have got to treat every second that they're in front of the camera as gold. It's all A game all the time.
You're 100% right because, so for instance, let's look at they have every other month. It's the first of everything. The first ladder match.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm hit the first Royal. Supposedly they might have a first elimination chamber match. So think about it. If I'm one of these women, I'm thinking to myself like, yo, I can't fuck up.
Exactly.
I gotta kill because I'm so hungry. We go back to what we said about Rhonda. In the beginning, she was hungry. Like, they're hungry to make a statement because they have to. They have to because what they're doing right now is setting the foundation for maybe your future daughter, your future niece, your future nephew, your future niece, or like your future granddaughter. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
They're setting the foundation for when they come around. The respect is already there.
Yeah, and you know. Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
It's just they're setting that foundation, and what you said about the men. I'm hearing stories about a lot of guys come to WWE after they leave New Japan and go kind of half-ass.
Yeah,
like Shinsuke Nakamura is getting a lot of shit.
See, that's my point. It's expected. I know a man can come in and get this kind of money and get this kind of airtime and get this kind of market share. It's like that's just how it goes. And to your point, where the women they're setting the bar higher, where future generations look at it, and I get not everybody's going to look at Ronda Rousey or Charlotte Flair and go, I want to be in the WWE. That's not the point. The point is I grew up watching Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior and stuff, and it's not that I didn't want to be in the ring, but it pushed me to think, you're thinking you can do anything. Ultimate Warrior, did that or whatever, and it's not this hokey bullshit. I'm just saying, look at them. They're, I remember seeing Superfly Snuka coming off of the cage in Springfield, Massachusetts against Don Morocco when I was a kid. My Uncle Joe took me and my brother, and goddamn was that cool. It was just like, holy crap. Nothing I had ever seen before. This was skinny Superfly, too, back when he was young.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like, you see somebody that looks like you.
Yeah.
Doing something. You're like, oh my God, maybe I can do this too.
Yeah, I can do it.
There's so many things. Listen, wrestling has so many possibilities. The women's division is like the ceiling. They broke the ceiling off. Now that the sky's the limit.
Absolutely.
And it's them trying to build. And also Vince has to do his job. Steph got to do the job, and also Triple H got to do the job to push the division to the next level. What I'm seeing now is greatness. Mm-hmm. But once again, it's very, very crowded, and they're doing the same things over and over with the girls. Like, all right, today we're going to do a tag team match. Next week we're going to do another tag team match. This week we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But they're not being as creative as they should be. And like you said, they have limited airtime. Even though they have more airtime than they did before, it's still limited.
Absolutely, that's it.
So they gotta do more. They gotta do more. And I know it's and don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want that job of booking. Don't get me wrong, because I don't want that job. That shit looks fucking difficult as hell. But the person with the job gotta do a better job.
No, absolutely. You know what? You got to figure they're getting paid pretty damn good. So yeah, they got to raise the bar. You've got more than 4 or 5 girls that can fight and wrestle and put on a show and carry a plot and carry the interest. You got a team of people, and like you said, I think bringing in a tag team, doing something like that, definitely will elevate the game. And you were making a point before about the women wrestlers have a bigger social media presence than the men. I mean, you think about it. I was just checking really quick. I know Nikki Bella's got 6.7 million followers. Bree's got 5.5. Charlotte's got 2.3. You're talking ridiculous amounts of people following these ladies. I mean, that's just like not untapped, but I mean, it's just limitless potential. You know, you could reach people.
And the thing is, also we spoke about it on my podcast once. By the way, we're relaunching the podcast. By the way.
Really? Well,
we're relaunching it. We're relaunching it. My brother's coming on board. We're changing the name.
Oh, what's the new name?
You're getting it here first.
All right, breaking story.
It's going to be called the Jobber Tears Podcast.
The Jobber Tears Podcast?
Yeah, the reason why we went with that name is because, first of all, none of us are superstars. We're all kind of like jobbers. And we're all complaining about what's going on in wrestling. So it's our tears.
Okay, all right. I can feel that. All right. All right. What do you got for it? I was going to say, what's your timeline on that?
We're going to have it up in January. So we're taking a little break right now. We're relaunching a couple of things, changing a couple of segments around. We did really well. We did really well with the Yup podcast, but we wanted to go take it to the next level.
Nice.
Better stuff, more better production. We're working on better production right now. Mm-hmm. And we all have this, we all sat down, was like, yo, listen, let's take it to the next level and see where we can take it now for 2018.
Nice.
Like, you know what I mean? Like just to see where we can really maximize everything. Because I have a solid social media following, so does my other host, and we all have the tools. Being in New York kind of gives us all that unfair advantage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good to meet people so much. So we're going to see what we can really do, and hopefully take it to another level to help. It's going to sound really corny. Push the wrestling culture forward on a mainstream level.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I just wanted to let you know real quick before we continue the conversation about what we're talking about.
No, that's great though. But definitely anybody who's listening, check out. Yep, we got a podcast because you got a solid bank of solid library of episodes. And honestly, I just finished listening to the last one about Flair and Jericho and so forth. And the Ric Flair conversation I thought was great. Just the whole 30 for 30 that he put out or they put out on him was really eye opening. It just made me think of that movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, and it was good. So listen to, got over 20 I think episodes in the library. Definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, that Ric Flair 30 for 30 was amazing.
That's what I'm saying. This thing was like people, like everybody in my neighborhood around, my neighbors are talking about it. The people I work with, they're like going, "Hey, did you get a chance? Did you see this one? They were talking about the one before that on Tommy Morrison also, and unfortunately, it was for similar purposes where it was just so sad the way it ended. But then Ric Flair's came out and they were like, "This one was even better."
Well, Ric Flair lived a borderline TV movie life. Like it's incredible what he did, but it's that Shakespeare type of situation where it's like the comedy, the drama all wrapped up in one, and the person has like a bigger than life persona.
Yeah.
And you see the psychological warfare that's going on in his mind. Like so I also work with kids who are like have a lot of like psychological problems, like that, like nothing too extreme, but they suffer from like ADHD, executive dysfunction disorders, like Down syndrome, different little things, but it's also like having rough childhoods, and now they're like 13 and they're trying to deal with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy how the role of the parent plays in a child's life. even when they're adults.
Yep.
So I'm watching it. I'm just like, yo, his parents kind of fucked him up.
No, totally. Isn't it? You see these things. You see how his kids react to him, his parenting style.
Yeah.
But exactly what you just said. And it's not this stupid. They always blame the parents. But you're right. It's like, where do you get it? You know, anytime you hear a story about somebody who beats their spouse, who grew up in an alcoholic home and their father beat their kid, and you can pin it back to these things, and it's ridiculous. I don't think people really understand the magnitude of the impact that you have on your child. If you happen to have one, I got two, and it's amazing and it's unbelievable that how big that impact is.
I do want kids. I want kids really badly. Currently, I'm seeing somebody. We're very serious, and we've been talking about the one day having kids of our own. But it scares me because I'm not perfect. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe you can give me a little advice right now. This podcast will turn from wrestling podcast to a parenting podcast.
Oh yeah, we're covering the bases.
So for instance, you're still dealing with whatever psychological problems you have. Like, all of us are messed up in the head. Yep. Every one of us. It doesn't matter who you are. There's a couple of screws loose in your head from something.
Absolutely.
So you're dealing with that because you have your own issues, and then you gotta mold this child into becoming a good person. And there is a point where you gotta stop blaming your parents. You have to take responsibility for your actions at this point, but you're still kind of dealing with that. And then I'm watching the Ric Flair, to go back to the Ric Flair thing. You're dealing with two parents, right?
Yep.
They lost a child, and then they adopt the child after.
Yep. It's so. That's such a traumatic. I cannot imagine what it's like to go through that situation of losing a child. And knock on wood, God forbid. It's just. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. That's just horrific.
Exactly.
And then the sequence of events. So both of my kids are adopted. Both of my kids are adopted.
Really?
Yep, I got a little boy and a little girl. I got a 7-year-old boy and a girl who is 5. So, both of them are adopted, and it's a wonderful thing. Absolutely love them with every fiber of my being. And to your point before about you deal with the baggage that you carry, and you know it. And then it's funny because I tell you this, and maybe it's just me, I don't know, but every once in a while I can feel some of it seep through, and I got to remember, you know what? It's almost like I'm on stage in front of them. I got to keep, have my personal stuff. I got to keep it to the side because I need him to know that this is how you act. This is how you treat people. This is how you interact with people, because that's setting the stage for later in life when he knows, okay, you know what? I can yell at somebody, but I know that 99% of the time, it's better to be good to people. It's better to be nice to people. It's better to treat somebody with a hug, that kind of a thing, than, flip somebody off when you're driving and get cut off in the road,
Exactly, because they notice everything.
They remember everything too. Damn, their brains they're nice and they soft and they absorb everything. Like mine is. It's cracked. I got CTE. I did football, semi-pro. I even got in the wrestling ring for a brief period. Got a massive concussion, so I dropped that real quick. No joke. Did a little bit of everything. So I forget stuff all the time, and they're the ones going, "No, Daddy, a tortoise is not an amphibian. It's not a reptile. It's an amphibian." And I'm like, "What?"
Well, the thing is, I'm adopted.
No kidding. I did not know
adopted.
That.
So quick backstory. My mom died when I was 3 or 4.
Oh my gosh.
I was with my dad. I lived with my dad. My dad met a woman, which is I consider my mom, just hands down. They were engaged. Then my dad got pneumonia and passed away.
Oh my God.
So then his fiance, which is my mom, adopted me and my brother and I. So I have a little a place in my heart for adopted kids regardless. I told my girlfriend, yo, when we get to that point, would you ever consider about adopting? Because that's one thing I feel like I have to give back, pay it forward. Mm-hmm. Because somebody did it for me and gave me a great life. I lived a borderline middle class lifestyle. I have I never went hungry. So my life, could have went completely left. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and then like I see Flair's situation because my mom gave me attention, gave me tons of it, but didn't give my brother that much attention. So when Flair's talking, when I remember that there's a segment where Ross is like, they're interviewing Jim Ross, and Ross is talking about they're in a bar, and next thing you know, they're having shots with the whole entire bar because Rick needs that attention.
Yep.
You go back to his childhood where he wasn't getting none of that attention. His parents never came to into the games, never really cared for him, and you see the pattern.
Yeah, no, that goes to it, like, with that piece, like, even the spot of, like, he slept with, what, like, 10,000 women or something like that?
Yeah.
It's an attention thing. He wants to be wanted.
Huge.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend, I spoke to my girlfriend about, like, her childhood, what she went through, and then, because we watched the Ric Flair thing together, and she was like, well, I can see certain things that I do now come from the way I was raised. Like, because you start understanding, like, why people act like this. But a lot of times, let's say, for instance, he had, like, that perfect childhood. I don't think it would have been Ric Flair.
Absolutely. No, yeah. The road that he took got him to what he is, you know? It's that whole thing of everything that happens to you in your life is what created you. And I'm not saying it like a fate thing or anything like that, but it's like every interaction, you think about it in terms of, you know, you meet somebody and they say something and you remember it. It has an impact on you, and I don't want to say it changes you, but it does have like a lasting impression. It can be a quote, like "Live in your truth." It can be the impact that wrestling has had on your life, whatever that is. It all leaves an impression.
It's there's so much that like goes together. Like we're constantly writing this book called Our Life. Like you're writing your book on your life, I'm writing a book on my life without actually writing it, and I'm seeing Ric Flair because he's such a huge person in the world, and you're seeing like how everything's affecting him. Like he gets really emotional about Charlotte.
Yes.
And Charlotte even said the reason why she got into it was because the death of her brother. And we're getting a little deep right now.
Yes.
The listeners might take out a box of tissue, but it's the fact that like these little things play such a huge factor, because if her brother never died, Charlotte probably wouldn't be wrestling right now. And she's one of the best, best in the game right now. And I will put her up against some Japanese female wrestlers too. That's how much faith I got in this girl.
Yep.
This woman, I mean. I'm sorry. Let's keep it a little PC. Woman.
This woman, yes.
So I'm just saying, it's just there's so much that goes into these things. Like, you know what I mean? And his Ric Flair story, that is just on another level. That 30 for 30 could have been like 5 hours long. And still be good.
You were talking about it on your last show that one could have been a series.
Yeah. Know? Like it could have been a real good series and of all that nature. But Charlotte, like we talked about, the talent that Charlotte has, man. Oh yeah,
it goes beyond being the face or the names. That's getting back to that athleticism. You're seeing women CrossFit athletes who can do these amazing things. Like I love watching that American Ninja Warrior because they got that's ridiculous athleticism, and you're seeing these people like I think her name was Jessie. Oh, I can't remember her. She was always wears the Supergirl gear when she runs the course. She was better than 90% of the men that were on the course, and it's breaking down barriers. You know, it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I want to keep. I'm keeping a look at the clock here. I know you have got a hard stop, and I don't want to trample over your calendar for the day. This has been a crazy conversation. This has been awesome.
Oh yeah. No problem. No problem. Thank you for having me. First of all, thank you for having me. I do have to go soon. But the conversation was great, man.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Really appreciate you.
We will definitely.
I would love to have you. I would love to be on it again if you can ever have me on again. We can talking more, and maybe next time could be a little bit longer.
Absolutely.
I'll clear out my day even longer. I didn't know it was gonna go this long because we were literally just bouncing shit off of each other right now.
You know, it was funny because it's setting up the plan. I didn't think it was going to go this long either, but I will absolutely stay in touch with you, and we will definitely have you back on the show. But before we wrap here, I want to give you the chance. Plug any of your social media, Instagram, websites. I know, like I said at the beginning, you're a certified trainer in New York City. So why don't you plug some of your spots so we can get that on here as well.
So first thing first, my name is Sir Wilkins. If you guys didn't remember the name from the beginning, my social media is all the same. SIR_Wilkins, WILKINS. So once again, SIR_Wilkins, WILKINS. I have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of that, even Snapchat, but nowadays you got to have social media.
Got it.
I am a certified personal trainer. I run my own academy called We Work in Academy. We throw boot camps all over the city. Also, I'm a huge wrestling fan, massive wrestling fan. As you can see, I can go hours and hours talking about wrestling. I throw wrestling viewing parties in the city. So any WWE pay-per-view you want to watch, I throw a huge party in the city. Like we did Survivor Series, we had about 500 people in the building watching wrestling together.
Awesome.
My old podcast was called Yup, We Got a Podcast, but we have rebranded it recently to the Jobbeteers Podcast, and it's dropping sometime in January. So look out for that. And thank you once again, bro. Thank you for having me on this show. Like I said before, like I know you don't think it's a big deal. It's a huge deal, bro. Like the fact that you called me, spent time out of your day, whatever time you had to like even contact me. I really appreciate it, man. I really do appreciate it. And I thank you so much for having me. Once again, send me all your stuff because I got to cross-promote with you. You're bad boy. Please send me the stuff.
I will. Thank you so much. You are very welcome. And thank you very much for your time. All right. I told you that was going to be a fun, positive, energy-packed, powerful podcast with the great Sir Wilkins. Thank you, Sir Wilkins. That was awesome. I guarantee we will have him back on the show. That was just so much fun. So be sure to follow him on his Instagram page. It is definitely worth it. And with that, folks, have yourselves a lovely, wonderful day.